Hey, how are y'all?
Of course, seeking God, but seeking God through other people, helping people, um, just being mindful of other people's needs as well as our own. So I think it ties in perfectly to our talk today. Should I just go ahead and get started? Okay.
Start,
Yeah. And I did post comment, or we're doing live services, and so I posted links to our talk today. This is the second of our talks for the pandemic parenting series. So hopefully we'll have some more people join us today. But just a little bit about Morgan. I suppose she could talk about herself, but it seems a little bit more formal for someone else to do it. But Morgan was born and raised in Texas. She attended Texas Tech University, where she graduated with a Bachelor's of Arts in Psychology. She's worked in a variety of roles at Bluebonnet Trails Community Services, which is down the road. She worked as a case manager for people with mental health issues. She was a supervisor for the crisis team, working with people with intellectual disabilities and autism spectrum disorders. Was a center director at Burnett County. Then she attended Texas State University. I memorized this entire thing. It's rolling off my tongue. This is wonderful. She obtained her master's in social work and is now a licensed master social worker. She works with me at Meridell Achievement Center as a program therapist, and she started in March 2020, shortly before the pandemic.
Literally before the pandemic shut down. Yeah.
So we've both been in the trenches. She's been great, and I think this will be the first of other talks that I'll probably ask her to be a part of. But without further ado, this is Morgan Starr.
Thank you so much, Dr. Cristobal. And thank you so much to everyone for allowing me to have this opportunity. When Dr. Cristobal approached me about it, I was a bit flattered. And so I just really appreciate y'all letting me do this. I think it will let me share my screen. Let me see. Host disabled participant screen sharing. Lorianne, are you able to allow me?
Your microphone's off, Lorianne.
Thank you. Okay. Yes, I've got you. I've got where all participants can share.
Okay.
But I'm only letting you share one at a time, so no one else can share.
No worries. Hold on, it's asking me for some permissions here. Let me see if it will do it. Oh.
Well, here we go.
Okay.
Open system preferences.
Yeah, I don't know what that means. Okay, I got it checked. So hopefully it will allow you to record. So let me blow this up a little bit. There we go. Oh, well, sorry. Technical difficulties, guys. I haven't had to use Zoom at all during the pandemic. I've been in person, so working Zoom is still a mystery to me.
You're doing great.
Thank you. So finding the norm during the holidays, when Dr. Cristobal and I were talking about, what I can present, I was just thinking about what we are going through as a nation and just on a world scale, and that the holidays are extremely stressful without a pandemic. But then what can we do to kind of keep our norm, keep our routine, or even try new traditions, just to kind of make it, I guess, more fun or more relaxed for everybody, especially kids, because they don't really get, the global scale of what's going on. So how to keep our family and yourself first during the COVID pandemic throughout the holidays. So the big picture is that the holidays are cheerful and they're full of celebration. But most of all, I feel that a lot of people feel stressed out during the holidays. I think it's really important that we keep family. Family is how we, at least my family, celebrates the season. And let's try to keep that first as much as possible. And I think it's especially important this year is to give yourself and other people grace and patience, even more so than before. People are dealing with different stressors, not just the pandemic, but the collateral losses of the pandemic, whether that's from jobs to even housing, and just income to help support their families. People are also dealing with the virus themselves, or even family members that might have contracted the virus. Um, and honestly, I feel like the perfect celebration is keeping it all focused on the family. And the reason for the season, I kind of see Halloween as kind of the kickoff holiday for the holiday season. Some people think it's Thanksgiving, but I guess I'm just a little optimistic about the holiday season. I want to do it as soon as possible.
By the way, Morgan, I'm trying to convince Kosh to let me play Christmas music right now, but
absolutely.
she's not with it. So hopefully after this presentation, she'll be more in the spirit and we can start playing some Christmas music. Go.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you can. I'm going to be blasting it from my office, probably starting this week. But I even watched The Nightmare Before Christmas, like on Halloween, so that I can just kind of get into the spirit. But anyways, so yeah, I think that we need to kind of shift gears, I guess, so that after Halloween, we start thinking, or even year round, really, we need to start thinking about what we're thankful for, the blessings and the opportunities that we have been given by God, and, just making sure we're making choices to take care of ourselves and our family. And then during a time of change, which has been all of 2020, we need to expect some adjustment during this time also. Things will not go perfectly, regardless of how much we pay attention to detail or stress about what will happen. We definitely just need to be prepared to be flexible in our mindsets. Welcome to the new people that joined us. So be well, give thanks, and be merry. Okay. And guys, this is a very informal thing. Like if any of the families have any comments or any questions as I go along, just go ahead and jump in. I'm not going to be upset about it. Or you can just wait until the end and we can have a discussion. So first and foremost, and I don't know if Dr. Cristobal wants to help me kind of with these recommendations specifically, but I was kind of looking up, what the CDC is recommending during the holidays. I was actually kind of surprised to see that they had like a whole section dedicated to the holidays, and you can find that web link here if you want to look at more information down at the bottom. But according to the CDC, and I'm sure a lot of us have kind of, this has been drilled into our head by media and professionals and everything else, but I just want to cover it, especially during this time, because I know we will all be tempted to maybe, say, oh, well, everything's going to be fine. Let's loosen up our caution and precautions about the COVID-19 virus. But it is still a very real thing. So one way to keep us from being well is that we are aware of community levels of COVID-19. There are still some communities that are experiencing a spike, in the numbers. And so we really want to be informed, not only for the area that we are in, but if you're planning to travel, to also kind of look at what the numbers look like where you're going, just so that you can be aware. I've traveled outside of the Austin area a few times since the pandemic has started. And I was shocked really at how some communities are paying no precautions at all. I walked into a Subway in this really small town called Jacksboro, Texas. And we were just traveling to Wichita Falls. And I walked in, my whole family walked in with their masks on, and there was this young teenager that was working behind the counter. And she kind of gave me a strange look and was like, you don't have to wear a mask here. And I kind of, chuckled, and I said, well, where we come from, the numbers are rising. So it's not necessarily, I'm afraid that you're going to give it to me. I'm just trying not to spread it to your community. And so they had like maybe, I think maybe 20 cases in their county. So they weren't too concerned. And then she was like, how many cases are where you're from? And I'm like, oh, 20,000. And she was just kind of like, oh, and I was like, yeah. So not just being mindful of, when you get to your destination, but also when you're stopping along the way. Even if you're not wearing a mask, or even if the people around you are not wearing a mask, always want to make sure that we're taking precautions. You also want to consider the location. So outside events are best, or well-ventilated, spacious indoor areas. I've heard of people like renting out like kind of bigger community centers so that they can space out a little bit more. So I don't know if that's something that's available in your community, or if you know of someone that might have a property you can use if you want to do an indoor area. Also, the duration, the longer the gathering, the higher the risk. Attendance, the more people, of course, increases the risk. Traveling, people traveling from various or to various locations increases risk. And then you want to be mindful of the behavior of the people that are going to be at the gathering. So social distancing, wearing masks, and proper hand hygiene before and during the gathering. So, even just taking extra precautions if you do plan to travel, or asking your family members if they're coming in to visit you, to also just take those precautions about not going into public too much unless it's necessary, wearing a mask if you do, using hand sanitizer, and washing your hands. Dr. Cristobal, is there anything that you wanted to add to that arena?
I just sent a link from, I think it's basically just excerpts of Dr. Fauci, who's the leading guru on viruses in the country. Just kind of a summary of his points about holiday gatherings. And I think you summarized everything perfectly, Morgan. I mean, obviously we're all pretty familiar with the importance of mask wearing. I've read different articles where they've talked to experts on what they're planning on doing for the holiday season. And I think, so there are people that are, wearing their masks even in the home, but then taking their masks off while they eat, so as to kind of minimize the time that they're kind of breathing in, exchanging air. As we now know, the CDC has indicated that COVID-19 can potentially be spread by aerosols, or air particles, which is different than just droplets. Droplets, as everybody knows, is kind of like the mucus, or the saliva mucus particles that can, or just kind of like our the air that contains moisture that we breathe. Those are droplets, but the aerosols are basically the theory is that the small viral particles can travel in air currents, and so that's why we must take additional precautions when we're around each other. I think spacing people out, if you must have to have, like in some places of the country where, for instance, like Minnesota or the upper Midwest, maybe eating, having dining outside maybe isn't an option. I know that's kind of one of the things.
Snow.
Yeah, that's right. I think when we have our family over, we're probably going to be dining outside. I think we may have one family or friends joining us, but we're going to be setting up shop outside. But in colder environments, that may not be possible. So opening windows may be helpful. I think it's helpful to kind of improve, or yes, I guess cracking windows if it's super cold, just to ensure adequate airflow in the home. Maybe having fans going as well to kind of disperse air particles.
They could also purchase one of those super duper fancy air filters that we have on the units.
Oh yeah, right. Yes.
That thing is intense, but I feel like it works. So yeah, purchasing like an extra air filter machine to put in your home could also help with that.
Yeah, and there are certain guidelines, there's certain recommendations. I can't remember off the top of my head, but there are specific, HEPA recommendations for the type of air filter you might need to kind of help filter out COVID particles.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
Good idea.
Yeah. All right. And then there are some other CDC recommendations. So do not host or participate in an in-person gathering if anyone in your household, not just you, has been diagnosed with COVID-19 and has not met criteria to safely be around others. I think they said something about, I think when I was reading it said that it has to be at least 10 days after your confirmed test result until you are safe to be around others. Also, if you have symptoms of COVID-19, and honestly, it's really hard to determine what symptoms is allergies because, cedar fever is about to hit. And also, just the common cold or even the flu. If you're unsure and you know that you're about to travel or you're about to have family members, I would encourage you to go ahead and maybe get a test done. There are several rapid test sites around Austin if you don't want to wait for the lab results or don't have time, just to be safe and just to be sure that you're not going to spread it to any of your family members. Also, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so fever, I think, is one of the more sensitive symptoms. Like, I think it's anywhere from 70 to 90% from what I've read of cases of COVID, you have a fever. But don't just rely on the fever. Like you said, it's very confusing given the allergy season that we have perennially in Texas. But yes, particularly as it relates to the holidays, I think it's a good idea to be safe. It's better to be safe than sorry. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they're already predicting a spike in the cases for the holiday season because of all the gatherings. So just be really mindful for your health. Also, if any of your household members may have been exposed to someone with COVID-19 in the last 14 days, it is not recommended that you attend in-person festivities. Or if you have an increased risk of severe illness. So if you have a respiratory disease or autoimmune disease, asthma, or just any kind of disease or disorder that compromises your immune system, definitely want to not go to in-person festivities. Yeah. All right. And then we have give thanks. Like I've said before, the holidays are often a time to give thanks for the family and opportunities and blessings we have. If you do feel that you want to invite people into your home, I would probably recommend a small gathering with traditional food and activities. But I also want people to be mindful that you are not obligated to invite all family members. I know that there might be feelings of guilt or shame, or, it just might be very uncomfortable if you can't invite maybe some of your core family members because of age, or if they have a disorder that might compromise their immune system. It would be most advised that they stay home, or maybe even set up a even smaller gathering or visit with them outside of the larger gathering. If you're unable to attend a gathering, find creative and thoughtful ways to show your friends and family the love and thankfulness that you have. So send Thanksgiving and Christmas cards. I think this is kind of a dying tradition. Not a lot of people send cards anymore, but I think this is the perfect year to kind of, bring back the Christmas cards. I am not familiar with Thanksgiving cards, but I think Amazon probably could supply us with those. Even just having a card that says thankful on the front and then writing a personal note inside of it.
Morgan, Dollar General sells some great Thanksgiving cards.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's good to know. Yeah. And just adding that personal touch, just so that people know that you're thinking about them. And everybody loves to get mail. I mean, I get mail because I get bills, but then if I get mail that's actually like a card, it really makes me excited. And in our day of technology, sending a text message or an email, I just don't feel as personal as writing like a pen written card. Yes, ma'am.
There's you can send e-cards, which definitely don't have a virus on them, and also certain websites like American Greetings, you can print out a card if you want to send a physical card.
Perfect. Yes, I love that idea. Absolutely. And e-cards, they can be personalized as well. So, I mean, anything that, I mean, and it saves on postage, right?
And we also like the silly ones that are animated. So,
oh, yeah, those are always fun. I think there are even some of them, especially during the Christmas season, where you can like put your face on like an elf and you're like dancing around. Yeah, I think that would be really fun for like kids and adults alike. Thank you for that. Um, or even create a slideshow of pictures of your family over the past year, just showing your other family members or friends kind of what your family's been up to. I'm sure there could be some pretty interesting like pandemic photos in there as well. But I'm a big picture person, so slideshows are one of my favorites. Um, and then even those family members who are not able to get out of the house and maybe are not able to have visitors, order and send dinner to those family members. That's just a way for them to enjoy some of their traditional foods during the season. I'm Another thing on this note is, I was trying to think, well, how do these people who can't come to the gatherings kind of receive presents and stuff like that? I know my family is doing a gift exchange, like what is it? A white Santa? Is that what they call it? Gift exchange? No,
White
white
elephant.
elephant. It took me a second. And so there's a app called Elfster, Elfster. And you can put in the phone numbers of all the people that you want to include in the gift exchange. And then it will randomly assign to everybody who their, I guess, Secret Santa is. That's what I was thinking. And then you can order it on Amazon and have it directly delivered to them or whatever website you want to get the gift from. So I thought that was kind of a neat thing that we're doing as well. Plan activities or crafts that can be enjoyed by people who can attend, but still socially distance. So some of those recommendations are here at the bottom of this slide, actually. So set up a Santa letter writing table for the kids, if that's something that a tradition that you and your kids celebrate during the season. And so whoever comes, even adults, can write a letter to Santa just to kind of shake it up a little bit. Or having s'mores around a fire pit. This is something that I do often, even just on weekends in my house, but the kids love it. And it gives them time just to socialize. Hosting Thanksgiving or even Christmas at a park pavilion to allow for walking, biking, and free play. So that this not only encourages exercise, but also just kind of keeps people socially distanced as much as possible with really good ventilation because you're outside, of course. And then an outdoor movie with a projector and screen in the yard, or you can just project it right onto your house if you have a wall. This is something that we've been doing since the pandemic started with me and some of our neighbors, just so that we can all kind of put our blankets down, our chairs down, and enjoy a movie, but still kind of talk and play. And then give back to another family by donating items, food, clothing, etc. I don't know if your church does like an angel tree or if you're able to access that, but being able just to give to others more so than what we receive, I feel like is always something to encourage. Some other ideas that you can do is a recipe exchange. So if for some reason y'all are not able to be together on Thanksgiving or Christmas, but man, Aunt Sally really makes a mean green bean casserole, right? But Aunt Sally can't come. So even, reaching out to Aunt Sally and saying, hey, I know you can't come, but I really need that green bean casserole. That also kind of helps you learn some of the family recipes that are there for generations, right? Trying to think, I was thinking of some other things as well. Does anybody else have any suggestions on kind of how to connect families, maybe just like across the distances?
Well, Morgan, I was going to say, after talking to Ron about your presentation, something that occurred to me is how we do the gingerbread houses, usually like the gingerbread house kits. And I was thinking it'd be pretty easy to do that via Zoom call where someone's got a gingerbread house on the other end. So like you'd be doing that as almost like a Sunday school activity that Lorianne puts together where everyone's doing a craft like that. So that's something that we might try out in our family.
Yeah, that was actually something. Thank you, Mrs. Cristobal, for that. Yeah, I was thinking about that last night. I was like, gingerbread houses or any craft to eat, for the holidays can be done via Zoom. I know that there might be concern that maybe some of the older relatives may not have access to the internet or, something like that, or they don't know how to work the computers. So maybe even having someone to kind of help them set that up, like one person can go over, or mailing some of the crafts to them, I think is a good way as well.
The other one I was thinking of was I want this group to be thinking about how we make Christmas special for our church too. Like I feel like there's such a tradition here of the pageant that's a really meaningful part of our kids' lives. And I'd love to think a little bit with you all about how we do something similar on Christmas Eve. And I'm clearly having all the kids in one place in the same way. It's not going to be possible. But if there's some way for us to create some connection, and I imagine many of you all are already thinking about this, but that's one of the things as I think about the Christmas season coming up, one of the things that's going to feel a little absent is that Christmas pageant that we do every year.
Yeah, we're actually any ideas you have on that are very much. Well, we're actually kind of talking through that, and we've come up with some pretty creative ideas already. So we'll be sharing those, and are happy to hear others. But yeah,
you all are more creative than I am. But that was one of the things as I think about the Christmas season coming up. That's one of the things that I know is important to my kids, and I'm happy that you're already thinking about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't know if, I've seen outdoor live nativity scenes, I don't know if that's something that's possible. I don't know what your Christmas pageant is like, if it's about the nativity, but even maybe doing it outside and, if depending on the weather, or even pre-recording it. So people that are doing it on Zoom, so people can do it live at their home. Y'all said that y'all are having in-person services though, correct?
Yeah, we are having in-person services, but we don't have any of our none of our Sunday school classes are meeting in person. Our EYC, which is our youth group, and then we have what's called a pre-EYC, which is a pre-youth group, 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. We just had an in-person event, and we meet once a month, and EYC meets, but it's all outside, and definitely socially distanced. You have to come up with games that don't require proximity and things like that. And any kind of we're actually looking at doing before we always had an evening with Santa or a breakfast with Santa. Last year we switched it to an evening with Santa and incorporated a movie, and it was very well attended and everybody loved it. So this year here's a little sneak peek for everybody. This year we are going to do, but we're planning, in the process of planning and getting it ready. We're going to do an evening with Santa with popcorn in the parking lot. So we're going to be doing an outdoor event that might involve watching a movie from your car. Being in your car.
That's cool.
You drive in, exactly. and I'm going to see if I can get Santa there. I'm talking to him about that. Yeah.
That's exciting. No, that's really creative. I love that y'all are thinking about that. And I mean, and for the kids, those activities, and even us, I mean, it makes me so happy just to go and see the kids enjoy that kind of stuff. And I enjoy it personally. So another thing that, of course, I'm sure a lot of people do this, but even loading up your kids in the car and driving around to look at Christmas lights. There's a website, I forget what it's called. I can probably look it up. I love the dancing lights, when they like coordinate the music with the lights. And so there are quite a few of those homes around the area. And there's one website that kind of lists all the addresses and like all the info. So I think what I usually look up is like Austin dancing Christmas lights 2020. And then we will load up one evening with some hot chocolate and we'll just, even if it's like 80 degrees outside, and we'll drive around and we'll look at the dancing lights. So, because I know this year, I think the Austin festival, or what is it? The Trail of Lights, I think it's only in from your car. And I can only imagine how many people go in person and how many cars there will be. So I'm trying to avoid that like the virus. So maybe just driving around neighborhoods and looking for Christmas lights. And I don't know if Burnett is doing, I know one of the churches in Burnett does like a live Bethlehem, but I don't know what they're doing to kind of like make sure they're not spreading the virus as well, or if they're even having it. So, but anyway, so the last part of my presentation is just about being merry. Our mental health is just as important as our physical health, especially during the holidays. And I always talk with the kids that I work with and even their families that, you know, our physical health does affect our emotional and mental health and vice versa. So if we are not paying attention to both of these, then our body will respond accordingly. But with the stress of the COVID and the election that is currently going on, and now the holidays, what do we do? And I included one of the verses that I like from the Bible. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And so I hope that we can, even though we do get stressed out, or even if there's if the holidays are maybe a sad time for us, that we could still look to God so that we can get through it. So communication, I feel like could probably solve 90% of the problems in the world. But you know, not everybody is taught communication skills, which is okay. So communicate with family members and friends your plans and make it very clear what your family will be doing to be safe while celebrating. I know those conversations might be very difficult to have or very just awkward at times. But I think that when we are assertive in our communication and our needs for ourselves and our family, that adds just more respect between me and the person I'm having that conversation with. So making sure that we are assertive in that communication. Feelings of guilt and shame can often surface during the holidays, even more so if you do not feel comfortable attending or hosting a large gathering. Like I mentioned earlier in my presentation, this year is different. People may not respond as well to the news that you're not having your traditional Christmas dinner, or that you're not coming to theirs. Even if they may respond with anger or disappointment, I just ask that you give them grace and understanding so that everyone can kind of just move through this time of year as best as they can. Even trying new traditions. So I put an example here, decorate a holiday backdrop for your living room to share when Zooming for church. You know, even dressing up your kids as elves might add a little fun twist to it. But even doing some of the other things that we mentioned earlier that maybe you haven't done with your family before would really help during this time. And then things are different and ever evolving. So be prepared to be flexible, understanding, patient, and forgiving. Like you said, not everything will go as planned. And then find joy in the small things, even if we cannot be with all the people we love. I know that a Zoom call or, you know, getting a handcrafted turkey in the mail from your 7-year-old niece or nephew or grandchildren may not be the same thing as hugging them and spending time with them. But we really just need to find those little joys in those kind gestures that they send to us. Okay, so mental health during the holidays. So be mindful and aware of any additional stress you may feel at home or work. Like you said, communication will solve 90% of people's problems around the world. So communicate these stressors with your support system. So whether that's your spouse or, age appropriately to your kids, or even if it's your mom and dad, communicating this in a way that isn't, I guess, daunting, but just, reminding them about the added stresses will help them maybe understand where you're coming from. Find time for yourself to enjoy your own quiet time, your own hobby, or prepare for the holidays. Um, a lot of people think that I'm an extrovert just because I can talk really well. I am an introvert, probably to the core. And so there are times, yeah, exactly. So, large gatherings, my spouse's family is very large, and I get very overwhelmed, like super overwhelmed, and it drains me of energy. And I have to like take a nap every time I see them because I'm like, they're like, why are you taking a nap? And I don't want to be like, well, because you're draining my energy. I'm like, I just need my own time. Okay. So I'll go take a nap, and then I'll get up, and then I feel like I can have more energy moving forward.
Hey, Morgan,
Yeah,
is it okay to take naps if it's your own family too?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I tell my kids if you wake me up, we're gonna clean the house. So
Excellent.
but yeah, so naps or even going for a run, going to the gym. I know that there are usually 1,001 different things to do during the holidays, but you really need to kind of prepare your body mentally and physically for it. Talk with your family about limiting activities, but find social distance activities to do. Like you said, drive around to look at Christmas lights or even doing virtual visits with Santa. I know that there's even an app you can download so that you can talk to Santa on the phone. Might be something that you can do with your kids. Respect each other's needs and choices, even if it's difficult to do so. Um, I have to say that I'm probably one of the worst people at this, but I feel like I have to have control of everything, especially when I just know that I want everything to go perfect in plan. There has to be a schedule. Like when we take a trip, I have I have a folder with an itinerary and everything else in it. But being able to kind of release that control will lessen your stress, and just embrace kind of that things will work out, so that you don't have any unnecessary anxiety. You have the power to control your choices, which also have consequences. No one else can control your thoughts, emotions, and actions. This is kind of like like my my foundation of everything that I teach in my sessions to families. I know that maybe we want to be able to control the choices of others, but we can't, unfortunately. And we can always control our response to their choices. And even if their choice does make you upset or angry or disappointed, a lot of times they may need to see how you will react. And so being able to react with that love and grace that we really need to instill in our families, probably would be best. Um, and then I think this might be the last slide. Give yourself permission to let go of people or situations that might need space or grace. Dr. Cristobal texted me the other day and was like, maybe we should talk about when like Uncle Joe starts talking about the election, right? Um, Sometimes people will bring up topics, or maybe even be angry about it. And we need to be able to allow ourselves the respect for ourselves and that person, to choose our battles, right? So even if it is hard to do, giving them space or grace is the best thing. Did you have something, Lorianne? No. Okay.
No,
Sorry.
no. Well, actually, I have a question, and it kind of deals with all of this. Do you have any recommendations? I have a sister. My sister is one of those people that doesn't believe that the science is real. She refuses to wear a mask, and my mom, who is 86 and has quite a few compromised situations, health wise, she she wears a mask, but my sister won't, and neither will anyone in her family. And so we're trying to talk through what we're going to do for Christmas, because I know my kids and I don't want to risk exposure. My brother and his family, they're like me. They don't want to risk exposure. So we're trying to figure out how any recommendations on how to deal with her, because my mom wants to see us, but in order for us to see her, my sister's involved and her family. I mean, they've literally walked into a restaurant where it required a mask and turned around and walked out. I mean, they brag about being exposed to people with COVID. I mean, it's really scary. And so
Sure.
I have a lot of guilt
Sure.
about saying, okay, no, I just can't be with you, and I'm not going to, like I said, my kids already told me, no, we're not going to Karen's, and Karen's going to be there. She also has some real opinionated, I guess you might call them sermons that she gives regarding election stuff that we don't necessarily agree with. So anyway, any recommendations on how we can maybe deal a little bit easier with the situation, the COVID situation with her?
So I probably have a couple of recommendations. One is probably going to be more difficult than the other one. I mean, the more difficult one is putting those boundaries in place, and giving the expectation that if you do come to this gathering, you will be expected to wear a mask, even this just one time. And prioritizing, or emphasizing that we have an elderly mother, that could, if she does get COVID, it could be very detrimental for her. And I don't know if you've already tried that with her. I'm sure you have. My other thought is that maybe doing two separate kind of gatherings, where you and your family meet or gather with your mom first, and then after that, maybe your sister and your family, not including your mom, would also get together. I think the primary concern is the health of your mother, and so I don't know a lot about your sister, or kind of her response to kind of like logically prioritizing health. Um, so if I was in that situation, I would probably have to put boundaries in place, but I'm a pretty good boundary setter, because my brother kind of shares the same views as your sister, but I can usually get him to kind of concede to wearing it this one time.
I think just from listening to you, I think part of it is also I'm going to have to give myself grace, in saying, well, that may mean I don't get to see you, because because you're not willing to give, respect my boundaries, so, and that's going to make it hard. Yeah, no political talk. That's right. Well, unfortunately, that's a tougher one because she likes to talk. But yeah, no, I agree. We've actually had to put that in place before, the previous election, the presidential election. So,
well, it's all about boundaries, really, and talking about what the needs for yourself and your family is. And I don't know how outspoken your mother is about her needs as well, but I don't know if she would be able to talk to your sister, and talk about her needs and her fears about them not practicing COVID precautions, if that might help kind of lessen the blow for them. As far as politics, I'm sorry, go ahead, Dr. C.
You keep going. I can.
Okay. As far as politics, I'm kind of navigated the same waters. I know my father-in-law likes to corner me when he can, but I always, I hear him out, but I don't engage into like a power struggle or an argument with them, because you're not going to change each other's opinions over turkey at Thanksgiving dinner. Right. I just really highlight, that we all have our differing opinions, and, and I try to like redirect the conversation to more lighthearted, like catch up stuff. There's not a magic potion for like how to keep your family member from talking about the election, but just being able to, I guess, restrain yourself and have that self-control about your emotions and also your choices. Dr. C, did you have something you wanted to add to this?
I was just going to add a little bit. So you can only control what you can control, Lorianne. And so I think setting boundaries is ideal. But maybe one thing that we can control or you can't control is ensuring that she has like an air filter in like the rooms where they're going to be congregating. I think you can get a decent one on Amazon for under $200, between $100 and $200, and just have and insist on, at least if they're going to be at the dinner table, spacing people out, respecting space there, cracking windows open, increasing airflow, having fans going. Hopefully they don't live in like the upper Midwest, but having different fans blowing air, and improving that air circulation, having dinner outside even might be a good way to do things. And then, so I just want to mention that. Also, we're already at 10:48 here. I was just wondering if anybody else had any other questions for Morgan. Someone said maybe have a list of topics to divert conversation. It can be hard to come up with alternatives on the fly. Yeah, excellent idea.
That's a good idea.
Well, I think it's helpful just to have this kind of expert like Morgan come in just to kind of lay the groundwork for what we all need to be thinking about. And so that's someone that we can point to, and so that we don't feel like we're alone going through these things.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of these things, I was talking to my spouse the other day, like it's really hard for me to kind of know what to talk about because, it's kind of second nature to me to like set boundaries and be assertive and take, all of that. But, I was just like, okay, well, not everybody has the same training or experience as I do. So I hope that this was useful for you all. And I was going to add some slides about like resources as far as mindfulness and stuff. I may go ahead and do that and just send it to Dr. Cristobal so that maybe he can share it with y'all. And I was kind of thinking about it too, because I know some of the times the holidays can be really difficult for people, and that can lead our minds to very dark places. And so if I can also include some resources just about suicide prevention and stuff like that, in the event that one of your family members may need assistance with that. There's a lot of local resources in that event.
I especially appreciate this last slide. I think you've covered a lot of things that can help us redirect and center ourselves, and that seems to be one of the biggest things that. And I'm glad of the reminder that to set realistic expectations for yourselves and those around you. I think that's, for me, that's a really good reminder.
Mm-hmm.
Say thank you so much, Morgan, for taking time out of your Sunday to speak to our church. We hope to have you again. I probably will have you again. We'll probably talk more in the future. But I think the feedback that we're getting is that this has been a very helpful and informative talk as we enter the holiday season. Thank you for all the suggestions and ideas. I guess we will be posting the PowerPoints to Facebook, and I think Lorianne will be uploading a video at some point. So so thank you, everyone. I hope everyone has a great weekend. Our next topic we're planning for December, and I'll be checking in with our prospective speaker, Bleckley Dobbs. And hopefully he knows that we have on tap. And then Lorianne, I got your email. I'll touch base a little bit later on the plans for the next couple of months.
Perfect.
All right.
Thank you, Morgan.
Happy holidays.
Thank you, y'all too. Bye.
Bye, guys.